Welcome to today's 4Ps podcast. A lot of years ago, almost 40 years ago, maybe even a little bit over 40 years ago, there was a group, and there's still a group, he's still around, called Simply Red. And they had a song out, and it was called Money's Too Tight to Mention. And you know what? Even though that was in another century and about 4 decades back, you know what? That song still rings true today. Money is absolutely too tight to mention, and you need to find a way to get it. We'll be right back after this. I'm going to talk to you about someone who knows how to get it.
Do you have the next big thing? That world-changing whatchamacallit? Do you have a story to tell? You need a show-stopping web presence. You need the web spinners at Webinet. With big picture solutions, spinning together SEO, stellar web design, blogging, podcasts, and social media integrations, you'll find yourself developing your latest and greatest thing, idea, or telling that next chapter in your story. Look us up today at webinet.com, and remember, you're not everywhere unless you're Webinet.
When looking for personalized details on life insurance or retirement planning without the overly aggressive sales pitch, I'm your resource. I'm Mel Kay with LifeInsuranceSafeZone.com. I will expertly address those needs without the accompanying pressure, allowing you to make an informed decision in your own time, enabling you to retire with dignity and permitting your loved ones on possibly the worst day of their lives to mourn you free from financial worries. I'm at 805-300-1769.
Hello and welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. Again, like I said, money's too tight to mention. We are talking about interest rates. We're talking about all these different economic plans. It does not matter what country you're in. If you are in the Western world, you are being affected by inflation. You're also being affected by different industries, the change of our economic system, the change of the way we deliver products. We are still trying to figure out what the hell was going on during COVID. And then we printed so much money during COVID that now, our dollar's worth nothing. I mean, a dollar bill now is literally worth garbage. It's not worth anything. $20 is the new dollar bill. If you have a $20 bill in your pocket, that's going to last you for probably it won't last you that long. I went to the grocery store here just a couple days ago, literally came out with a bag and a half of groceries. Okay. And it was a plastic one too. It wasn't those real nice brown bags. It was literally the ones with the little handle on it. A bag and a half of groceries. Matter of fact, I carried everything that I needed to buy from the grocery store in my hands. I didn't even have to have a basket for it. I didn't even have to have one of those hand baskets for it. I literally had everything I needed in my hand. Carried it, went, rang it out, and it was like $57. $57. Back in the day, if I can carry it in my hand and bring it back up to the front and get it rung and get it done, then it was almost next to nothing. So now, we can sit there and we can go after the politicians. We can go after economic policy. We can do all of that. But the bottom line, like I said a couple weeks ago, in the United States, it's not who's in the White House. It's in your house. It's who's in your house. And the person in your house can decide what needs to be done. And that person is you. And if you realize that you need more money, you got to do things to get more money. All right. Do it legally. All right. And those things that you need to do to get more money is try to find multiple streams of income. I went out. I have so many streams of income. Now, listen, that could probably beat you up if you don't do it right, because you can get very tired very fast. You need to find the right balance, but you do need multiple streams of income. A couple reasons why you need multiple streams of income. Number one, all right, the company that you're working for, if you're working for a company, has decisions that they have to make. They have to make business decisions. And sometimes you can be caught up in those business decisions and lose your source of income. And if that is your sole source of income, you're in trouble. Number two, the cost of living has gone up substantially. There are people right now, the average raise is anywhere between 3 and 7%, but Inflation just a couple of years ago went up 9%. So even if you got a 7% raise, you did everything you were supposed to do, and the cost of living went up 9% year over year, guess what? You actually got a 2% pay cut. And so you're not getting anywhere. So you need to get that multiple stream of income. Number two, the other thing is sometimes you have a great idea, and sometimes that stream of income that you do on your side, your side hustle, sometimes that may be your main hustle. You never know. And you might find something. You might find a good gig, and it might be a gig to go on and go on forever. Today, I have an individual. His name is Derek Strokon. He is a phenomenal individual who literally said enough is enough. And he went out on his own. He has multiple streams of income. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And he did so well that he's now advising people. You're going to love his story. He is out of Vancouver, Canada. He is, before we got started with the interview, I'm going to sit there and talk hockey. He's a Canucks fan and I'm a Sabres fan. We've both been in the league for the same amount of years, and we have the same number of cups. 0. And that kind of hurts me a little bit, and I know it hurts him. But when we come back, we're going to be talking to Derek. Have right back. Hey, 4Ps audience. First of all, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast, The 4Ps of You. I thoroughly enjoy doing it, and I thoroughly enjoy the feedback I get from listeners. I hope you enjoy the stories and the guests that come on this program all the time. And if you do enjoy the guests and the stories that come on this program, you will absolutely enjoy my book, The 4Ps of You. The 4Ps of You are a collection of stories dealing with purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. These stories are there to guide you through your journey to see exactly what you want in life. The 4Ps of You is available on all forums. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it Barnes & Noble. You can get it on Google Play. You can get it on Apple. You can get it anywhere you buy books. You can get it in paperback, or you can get it in e-form. Please, that's the 4Ps of You. Get it. Would love to have you read it, and continue to thank you for listening to the 4Ps podcast with Trunis Goggins.
Want a financial detective who translates your money into clear insights and understands your vision? Meet Rose Knows Bookkeeping. Free up your time and get peace of mind with accurate, up-to-date finances. Let Rose handle the numbers while you focus on success. Contact Rose Knows Bookkeeping today.
Welcome back to the show. Like I was talking at the very beginning, we were talking about how you need multiple streams of income, how the industries throughout North America, especially, and we are going to be talking about North America today, are always changing. And I always like to provide evidence to the stuff that I ramble in the opening segments. And so to bring evidence in here today, I'm going to bring an individual who actually is living exactly what I was talking about in the earlier segment. His name is Derek Strokon, and he is from the beautiful, every time I hear the city, Vancouver, it's always like, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
In Asheville, and they say, oh, that's beautiful, and it's really nice to say. But when you say like Cleveland, and I'm not dogging Cleveland, all right, I'm from Buffalo, so I'm from that type of town too. You never hear, oh, that's beautiful. But Derek, welcome from the beautiful city of Vancouver. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Thank you. So now, Derek, you are an individual who has you have made that change. And we're going to talk about two parts, because Derek he's an extremely versatile individual. So when we are talking, you have to pay attention to this interview, because his versatility makes you have to pay attention. Derek, so tell us, you started out in corporate Canada.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So 16 years of trying to fit into a place that I don't think I fit. But I worked my tail off at it. I performed at the highest level in that environment, in every role that I was in that space. And it was about 2.5 years ago, I think I'd realized that I'd done everything that I could do in that space. When you look at, Shakespeare, I think, has a quote, or whoever it is that has a quote, or Einstein maybe, that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its whole life believing that it's stupid.
Mhm.
And I lived in that space going, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't have the impact in the corporate space that I felt that I should. And now in the last 2.5 years to do a TEDx, to write 3 books, to, start 3 separate companies in that short period of time, it was the realization that I'd done everything that I could do in the corporate space. And it was time for me to move on and really have a focus on myself, have a focus on my family. My kids are young, and they still want to hang out with their dad. And I wanted to make sure that I was physically going to be able to be there and mentally and, be able to be present in their lives. And that really required a very significant shift.
So was there, I know in my book, I talk about the straw that broke the camel's back, which was really a small one. It was it was an extremely small straw.
Right.
Was that the same thing that happened that made you say, okay, forget it, I'm out of corporate out of corporate Canada?
Yeah, I think it builds. I think the straw isn't the causal factor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's all of the elements that build up to that tipping point. And at a certain point when you just realize, this is not where I am intended to be moving forward. And, no criticism significantly, because I'm the one who chose to stay in that environment, but it wasn't the environment that is best suited to my success and to my growth. And, my entrepreneurial spirit comes, from, 5 years old selling golf balls on the side of the road, or, always needing to be that leader when we were selling oranges to do a fundraiser to get a new, slide for the playground. I always had to be number one in that space, and realizing that entrepreneurship is the space that allows me to actually judge my ability to accomplish these things versus sitting in a middle manager role wasn't giving me the challenge that was filling my cup and really just utilizing my skill set. So
you did 16 years
yeah
in the corporate world, and then you have done what, 2.5, 3 years as an entrepreneur?
We're 2.5 years in now. So it was February of 2022 I broke off and I started Sacred Line Consulting, which is one of the companies that we started. It is a philanthropy and impact-driven coaching business that I work exclusively in the financial services world because that was my background, helping financial advisors understand that there is a bigger opportunity and bigger objective than them just creating income. The quote that changed my life on this was my friend Randy Molland. And Randy said that if you want to be the happiest $1 million income earner on the planet, is build a business that makes you $2 million a year and give away half.
That's beautiful. That is a beautiful thing.
That quote, that line, that statement has changed the way that I think about doing business. We think about the business for, the widget that we produce and the success that we have in the internal team. But if you can go above, if you can go beyond yourself, and realize that, our mission here is to just be the vessel to help create success for others. That, there's an old proverb, Chinese proverb, and it says, if you chase the money, you'll never get it. But if you let it chase you, it'll get you every time. And so bringing philanthropy and impact into a coaching space is not something that is very popular, because most coaches will say, Trueness, let's go make you $1 million a year. Rather than let's go give away $1 million a year. It changes the mindset. So that business started. Then I had the fortune of delivering my TEDx talk in January of 2023. On the heels of that, I started Everyday Human. And I honestly had no idea what that business was going to be. I registered the name, I registered the website, and I was like, okay, now I need to figure out what this business is. So what it has evolved into is a philanthropy-based and giving and impact-based merchant services company, where we will help negotiate rates for retail and online business owners to reduce the amount of money that they're paying to Visa and to MasterCard. The objective there is to free up cash flow so that they can take that money and give it back to their community, because that's what we're supposed to do. that business is brilliant. I would say, and to me is more of a social experiment than it is a for-profit business. This is more about, how can we help alter and change the mindset in retail to have that giving impact focus.
Absolutely.
And then through TedX as well, I learned of a product called cold capping, and the company was Polar Cold Caps.
Mm-hmm.
And what this product does, I'm now involved. I own the Canadian distribution rights, and we're negotiating some U.S. ownership percentage at this point. But what this product does is it allows patients who are going through chemo to retain their hair. And I had never heard of this before. And I'm like, how come the whole world doesn't know about this? This is like the next best thing. This is the empowerment for patients as they go through their cancer journey. And essentially the mechanics are very simple that allow you to keep your hair by wearing a cap that freezes your hair follicle.
Right.
So it restricts the blood vessels so the chemo can't absorb into your hair. Therefore, your hair stays healthy and your hair doesn't fall out during chemo. And it's been wonderful. This journey has been amazing. And to knock off, my first book was September 2022. My second book, Human Being Human, was July of 2023. And I actually just wrote a book on Friday. So
you have to share. So I just want to say, when we came in for the interview, I said, how's everything going? He goes, well, and I swear to you, I just talked to him a couple of days ago. I went on vacation. I was gone. I come back. I said, how is your week going? So I go out and I take a little R&R. This guy over here writes a book literally overnight. He wrote it on Friday and it was out on Saturday on Amazon for all to buy. What is the name of the book?
Yeah. So the name of the book is called The Success Bible. And this idea came to me on Friday morning last week with a friend who I was coaching or helping him with some ideas on his book. And he got his author copies back and 15 pages of his manuscript were blank. And he was distraught. And we made a joke about, maybe it's a coloring book. Maybe you can add some, take a break halfway through and do a little break. But what I realized was that this was an incredible opportunity for me to publish what has now, as of this morning, was a top 50 ranked bestseller that is a single page of content followed by 187 blank pages.
That is phenomenal.
And the idea behind the Success Bible is that we overcomplicate everything, right? When we think about relationships, when we think about business, when we think about our health, we think that it has to be complicated. We've got to have 700 million things in order for it to be success, right? This is the tie-in to hero culture and the way that our society and marketing and business and, capitalism wants us to live, is by thinking that everything has to be complicated. But in reality, to achieve success, there are really only 5 steps to follow. And the step number 1 is find out exactly what it is that you want. Mm-hmm. Step 2 is figure out what you need to get out of your way or what it is that you need to change or implement in order to achieve it. Step number 3 is to pursue that relentlessly. Step number 4 is to then set a new target. And step number 5 is to repeat and go back to the beginning, assessing that new goal to figure out if that's exactly what it is that you would like. Above and beyond, there are no other secrets.
No.
So I published this and it is 1 page and it is those 5 steps. And the balance of the book is available for people to write their own story. Because I could sit and read a 200-page book, or I could read a 1-page book and take the other 199 pages and go and write my own story.
Absolutely.
So this, I think it's a really interesting comment just on where we are in society. And, I was thinking about the movie The Truman Show. And if you remember that one with Jim Carrey, at the very end, he climbs up the staircase and he finds the door to exit, right? And that 4th wall is broken. And when we realize that living in this life, it's all a game, right? We're all making up these rules every day as we go along. And it's all, right, this tie-in to hero culture, and everybody has to be the person standing on the cenotaph waving the flag, and in order to be recognized as the hero, that's what our society wants. That's what, right? That's what we get excited about.
Right.
But it's the real conversations. I share a story in Human Being Human that, you know, my wife and I, when we pass each other in the hallway, I say, I love you. And she says, I love you back. And we have two really great kids, and, you know, they're really incredibly behaved when they're with other people's parents, and they're pretty good when they're with us. And that story sucks, right? Like, nobody likes that story.
Right.
But when I add in that my ex had a drug problem, and, you know, I tongue in cheek, I say she had a lot more sex than I did when we were together, and like by quite a margin. And at some point I gave up on the idea of trying to fix her. And I found my wife, Jen, and when we pass in the hallway, I say, I love you, and she says, I love you back. And our kids are really well behaved when they're with other people's parents, and they're pretty good when they're with us. And all of a sudden, that's a good story.
Yes.
But you go, why do we need the chaos and the crisis? Why do we rely on trauma to be the valuable part of the lesson? Because the valuable part of the lesson is that I say, I love you to my wife, and she says, I love you back. But when you don't share the trauma, then we don't get the, you know, the endorphin rush of this, you know, hero journey, this Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And in reality, the thing that we should be focused on is I love you and I love you back. And I'm really proud that my kids are, you know, well behaved.
Absolutely. And it's funny that that's what we need. I mean, we need that. I don't want to say that's what we need. That's what we crave, because we need that train. We need that train wreck in the middle of the race in order for us to feel that it's, you know, it's great, you know?
Yeah.
I think that there is I don't know if that comes from just old time story writing from back in the day, where you need to have the conflict and you need to have the villain and you need to have the hero, and that's just the way. I mean, every single show. I mean, you got Bugs Bunny and you got Bugs Bunny, and then you have Yosemite Sam. You know, you need to have Yosemite Sam, or Bugs Bunny is just boring. You know.
Yeah. So where, you know, my interpretation of where this tipped was Star Wars. So George Lucas was very good friends with a gentleman by the name of Joseph Campbell.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Joseph Campbell is the one who wrote The Hero's Journey. Mm-hmm. And he was talking to Lucas, and he said, George, I've got this platform and this structure. And George Lucas wrote Star Wars in the style of The Hero's Journey. And that was the first major motion picture that followed this script structure.
Absolutely.
And now it's taught in film school. If you want great, Top Gun 2, friggin' brilliant movie. But it's the exact same story. It's the same story as Star Wars. It's, you know, average person falls and hits rock bottom, goes through this painful evolution on the journey to greatness, and then becomes celebrated as the hero and goes back to their hometown and teaches all the valuable lessons that they learned.
Right. You're right.
It becomes so much of a pattern in our society that it is now the way that we speak, right? You can't go to the office without having the water cooler talk about what happened on the weekend. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it really, in value, it's the simplicity. And that's the big motivation behind the Success Bible, is to say success is really only following those 5 steps. So there is no need for additional content, which is why the balance of the book is empty.
That is awesome. That is a great concept. And I wish I can write a book that fast. I really do. You have 2 other books. Tell us about them.
Yeah. So Stop Stalling, Start Selling was the first one. That's the one that took me the longest. That took me 4+ years to write, because for about 3.5 years, it just sat as a document on my desktop because I didn't know what to do with it. But it is a collection of 50 of my kind of favorite sales tips and tricks that I have used in sales training over my 25 years in sales development. They're easy, short, digestible, all with, you know, a subtle lesson that you can apply, but using real world examples so it makes them memorable. If you look at, you know, what creates the memory hook in people's brains is actually being able to remember the story behind the lesson. Mm-hmm. If we remember the story, then we'll remember the lesson. So Stop Stalling, Start Selling is the combination of just, you know, really 50 of my favorite stories. And then Human Being Human was the second book that really kind of chronicles my journey through TedX and all the things I learned along the way. When I did my talk the challenge with TEDx is you have 11 minutes to get one single message across.
Right.
But there's so many other things. I had 46 pages of notes that I had written, and discovering, the biggest discovery in being human is really the message about just being yourself, because everybody else is taken.
Right.
But the concept in there that I utilize is this idea of tipping time and looking at life as an hourglass, and to go, the grains of sand that haven't passed are at the top, the grains of sand that have passed are at the bottom. And when we look at this from far away, we feel as though all of these things are connected, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is our human nature. We are scientifically wired to create order out of chaos. However, the reality behind this is that life does not come in order, right? The grains of sand are not connected. They're merely touching. So this idea of tipping time that I bring forward in the book is to understand that in the present moment, actually nothing's happening. So you and I have 20 minutes today to have a really great conversation. In reality, nothing happened, but everything happened.
Right.
And this is the duality, is that you cannot accomplish anything in your life unless you're doing it at this exact moment, because you can't do it in the past and you can't do it in the future. And when you understand that you can harness this power of nothing to actually accomplish everything that you want to in your life, it was what gave me the strength to know that I could produce the Success Bible in one day. To know that, Eminem says if you had one shot or one opportunity, but in fact, you actually have all the shots and all the opportunity. Opportunity is not fleeting. Opportunity gives birth to itself at every moment. So if we can capitalize on just harnessing the power of nothing, where all of the opportunity in the world exists, then we can create the life of our dreams, and, you can bring to fruition whatever it is that you want. So that, those are the messages. There's a fourth one. It's being written kind of as we speak, and it's called Off the Deep End, and it's going to chronicle my departure. It will be more of a story. It will chronicle the departure from corporate to kind of where we end up, and I am not there yet, so I don't know the ending.
There you go. There's one thing I want you to share with the audience. You shared a story with me. I love hockey. I know that hockey is if you listen to my podcast, I would say probably every other episode I have some reference to the sport of hockey.
Right.
But I will say this. It is very, I know that, PK Subban, who his dad had 3 sons that played hockey. All of them had a taste of the NHL at some level. And he went bankrupt, making sure that his kids got to play the sport. Obviously, it was a wise investment. A lot of kids in many areas cannot afford such a wonderful sport. But you did something that I found it was extremely inspiring. Tell us the story about how you got kids to get on the ice.
Yeah, so this is a big piece of Sacred Line Consulting and the work that we do with financial advisors, is to get them to, as part of the coaching, is to get them to develop and grow their own community fund. So what they do with that is essentially allocate a percentage of their business revenue to go into their community fund to support, truly what it is that they believe. And one of my clients has started a community fund called Resilient Roots. And Resilient Roots is his program that, he went through a marriage breakdown, and he said, one of the best things that helped keep his kids on track was having them have access to sport, right? Having structure, having a coach, having a team, having certain roles and responsibilities, right? Like there are thousands of life lessons about hockey.
Absolutely.
But what he has done with Resilient Roots is creating a community fund where now a significant actual portion of his revenue pours into this to help give kids access to sport, who may have otherwise not had access to this. One of our other companies, or one of the other financial services companies, is Riverfront Financial, and they have the Riverfront Fund. So the Riverfront Fund is dedicated to helping give access to sports, specifically soccer and hockey, because this is the sport that these two gentlemen played when they were growing up, but being able to fund the community. And you know, if there's a single message, I think, you know, and, you know, depending on your religious status or religious perspective, that there's a line in the Bible that says God loves a cheerful giver.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And if we are there and we are helping our community because we love it, if we are there because we're helping the kids because they didn't have the same fortune that we did, or maybe they went through the same journey that we did and we wish we would have had access to something like this. If you do this with authenticity, if you do this because you care and because you have a heart and you want to give and support your community, it will give back to you in spades, right? He who sows sparingly will reap sparingly. He who, you know, sows generously will reap generously. And, you know, it's okay to make $1 million a year, but it's really great to make $1 million a year if you're making 2 million and you're giving away half.
Absolutely.
That's the better way to do it.
That is a beautiful story, and I'm glad you left us with this. Entrepreneurism is great. It's a fantastic thing. I talk about it all the time. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. One thing, though, is giving back. Because, you know, I'm going to tell you, the only thing that they remember when you leave this earth is what you did for them and what you left for them to benefit from. And and what you are doing right now is you are making sure that there are legacies left throughout definitely Western Canada for people who are less fortunate, and one day they will be able to be in a position where they'll give back. Derek, thank you so much for being on the program. I totally appreciate it. I love what you shared. The books that he has, I will make sure the links are in the podcast notes. You will be able to get to his website. You will be able to see if it's okay. I would like to share some of his speeches, TedX for sure, if we can. And they will all be on my podcast notes. They will also be incorporated on my website so you can see all there is to know about Derek. He's an inspirational man, and he is somebody who's done something that I'm sure many of you want to do. That is leave corporate America and go out on your own. He's done it, and now not only is he helping himself and his family, but he is absolutely on a mission to help others. We will be right back right after this. Hello, 4Ps family. This weekend coming up, yes, September 28th and 29th. Great weekend is coming up, and I am headed to the Great White North. I will be at the Word on the Street Book Festival in Toronto, Canada. That festival goes on Saturday and Sunday of this week, so the 28th and 29th. I will be there signing books. You can get my book while you're there anytime, but I am going to be signing my books in Toronto on Sunday, the 29th in the morning, and I'll be signing from 10 to 11. I'll be signing, but make sure you come to my booth and see me. There's a huge directory. You can find me. To be honest with you, I don't know exactly the booth I'm going to be in. I will find out here soon. But yes, it is on. But I do know I will be there from 10 to 11 at the Word on the Street Book Fair. It is the largest book fair in Canada. Also, Saturday, I will be in St. Catharines, Ontario, and I'll be there from 1 to 4 at the Fairview Mall. I'll be at the Chapters bookstore there in St. Catharines, Ontario. Totally looking forward to it. Cannot wait to see you. And then I have a weekend off, which is great. Football season's in full bloom, and you know me and my Buffalo Bills, I'll be watching them, and hopefully they're doing great. But the weekend after that, that is going to be October 12th, the weekend of October 12th. That is a Saturday from 12 to 3. I will be in Plainfield, Indiana, I will be at Perry at the Crossing at my favorite bookstore in the United States of America. That is Barnes & Noble. I'll be at the Barnes & Noble at Perry at the Crossing in Plainfield, Indiana. Plainfield is a suburb of Indianapolis, just west of Indianapolis, right on, depending on where you're going, it's either US 40 or Interstate 70. Great town. It is growing. It is growing by leaps and bounds. But I will be there. That will be Friday, October 12th, and it will be from 12 to 3. I am looking forward to seeing all of you. Cannot wait to be able to shake hands. Those are always my favorite events to do those. See you soon.
Stopping web presence. You need the web spinners at Webinet. With big picture solutions, spinning together SEO, stellar web design, blogging, podcasts, and social media integrations, you'll find yourself developing your latest and greatest thing, idea, or telling that next chapter in your story. Look us up today at webinet.com, and remember, you're not everywhere unless you're Webinet.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Derek. Derek is a great entrepreneur. He's a great person. He has taken, like I said, we were talking earlier about multiple streams of income, but he has taken entrepreneurship to another level. He is actually an entrepreneur that wants to give back. He sees, not only does he see gaps in industry, he sees gaps in community and in society, and he is destined to fill those up. He is destined to help make his community and other communities a better place. And when he advises individuals, he tries to make them a better place. But he understands a lot what what a person should be. Let's put it that way. And he has books out, which we are going to have links to the book. I am reading one right now. It is a really good book, and the book I'm reading right now is Human Being Human. He sent it to me. Thank you so much for this book. And again, this is it's a book that really helps you be a complete person. You know, I talk about the 4 Ps, but you know, in order for you to have the 4 Ps, you need to realize that you are a human is 3 parts. A human's physical, a human's mental, and a human's spiritual. And you got to align those 3 parts, and you have to reconcile those 3 parts. And there's so many different things to being a human. It's not just your career. It is your personal life. It's your family. It's your friends. It's your community. And Derek recognizes it, and it is definitely in his book. We will be back later on this week. This is National Recovery Month, and I have a story, Dr. Angela Bennett. She is from Australia. Yeah, I'm always going there. We'll be back in America next week, I promise. But she is, her story, when I interviewed her for the podcast episode, it took a while for me to keep a straight face. And what I mean by that, to not literally shed a tear. Her story is, she is a beautiful person, and it is, if you hear what she went through, it was absolutely an act of God to make sure she stayed the person and the joyful person she is. But we'll be talking about her next week. Also, do not forget this weekend on Friday, if you are in Canada, I will be at Chapters Bookstore. I do want you guys to know that usually I do have a little segment in this podcast, talks about where I'm going to be. But I want to tell you, I'll be at Chapters Bookstore in St. Catharines, Ontario. And then also I will be signing books at Word on the Street Book Fair in Toronto, Ontario. And you know what? I'm a big CFL fan. I bought tickets, and I had to. I bought tickets to the Toronto Argos Montreal Alouette football game. I am so looking forward to that. I love CFL football, and this is the first CFL football game I've been to since 1991. So I'm so looking forward to going to the game and watching football. And it's going to be a great time. Love Canada very, very much. I will be talking to you later on this week. Bye-bye.